I always teach people to start with the long form and then do the short form later, because if you're new at video, if you're only focused on short form, you're going to be in this constant cycle of restarting from scratch. So you're going to say, well, where's my next video idea? Okay, which one do I do next? And that's a really exhausting place to be in. Whereas let's say you do a monthly webinar or a monthly recording of just your expertise, and then you split that up into clips, you can schedule those out. And I think that makes it a lot easier to keep on top of content, to only have to record one time per month or whatever cadence you decide. It's a lot less exhausting, and you got to figure out what cycle works for you. But I would say also do long form.
So, hi guys, this is Ayman, and I'm back with another episode of Beyond the Feed by Social Champ. And today we have Sara Berry with us, who helps founders and leaders create camera confidence through video content. And today we have a very interesting topic to talk about, that is the growing impact of video content on social media. So, all over to you, Sarah. Can you tell me that when was the time that you actually realized that video content is increasingly becoming important for brands?
Yeah, I think when it became more social and you didn't have to be a videographer anymore, and noticing that everyone has a little mini video studio in their pocket, aka their phones. I wasn't an early adopter to TikTok, but I think once it expanded to Instagram and it wasn't just regular videos, it was Reels. That was kind of the turning point for me.
That's great. So a lot of brands, they're going towards, video content. And then there are other brands as well who think that they cannot go into video content because they're more of B2B or serious brands. So how do you think such brands can actually leverage video content while staying in their niche as well?
Yeah, I think if someone's a serious brand or they want to keep their reputation intact, I think there is some hesitation for some brands. I think an easy way would be talking head videos where you're still you're still the authority. You're still showing your expertise, showcasing your employees. Maybe even employee generated content would be great. You can even do really cool things like, let's say you have a warehouse, you could do a tour of the warehouse. I mean, little things like that make your audience feel connected to the brand. Yeah, it's still serious, it's still professional, but you're just saying, this is what we have, this is who we are.
That's right. So right now you talked about talking head videos as well, and a lot of people are now using AI as well to create such videos. So do you also agree that people can use AI to create videos, or you think that AI actually causes the human element to be eliminated from videos?
I think it causes the human element to be eliminated. I think that AI videos, they're cool, they're kitschy, they're kind of gimmicky. I think you can do them for fun. I think there's definitely a place for them. Some people are really great at them, but I think there's a place for them. And I think in general, and I'm seeing this actually ramp up quite a bit recently, people are getting very tired of seeing AI videos. I've seen it on Instagram a lot. So if you're scrolling through videos and something's obviously AI and it's not a specific account that's dedicated to AI, the comments will be flooded with no more AI, no more AI. People are just tired of it. So I think we're already at that point where we're craving more of the human element. And I think that's going to just become more and more apparent as we go on. Like, we're going to see more of this. Hey, I want to see the real person behind it. No AI avatars. But again, it's cute. It has its place. You can definitely experiment with it, but I wouldn't build a brand with it necessarily.
True. That's right. So in your experience, what is the biggest misconception that brands specifically have for video content on social media?
I think that people are really focused on going viral.
Yeah.
And you can't really predict virality. I think some people, maybe if they've been in social media for a long time, they're very good at picking up on what might go viral, but you can't really predict it. But I think, unfortunately, no matter how much I talk about it and other people talk about, it's more about showing yourself and the human side and connecting and building trust and creating many videos and having them compound over time. People still want that quick hit. They want their first video to go viral, especially as let's say a one-person brand, a personal brand. People truly believe that their first video is just going to go wild out of the gate, and it's just not the case. And then they get disappointed and they never try it again.
That's true. So right now you talked about, virality and all of that. So we also believe that for every type of content, either it's video or other type of content, you need to be consistent with your content. So according to you, what are the number of videos that people or brands specifically should be posting online? Is there a specific number that they should be posting?
I would say it depends on the platform. So if you're doing more long form and you're going on YouTube once a week is very consistent. That's great. I'm actually going to be going over to YouTube in 2026. So that's something that I'm learning right now and diving into. But if it's something like LinkedIn, just showing your face here and there is great. Once a month being on video is plenty. I think as long as people see your face and they know what you look like, they can expect, maybe they join a call with you and they've already seen you and it feels great because they've already had that handshake, so to speak, over LinkedIn. But yeah, it doesn't have to be super often. I would say just consistent. I would say don't do video once and then not again for 8 more months.
That's true.
Once a month, something like that.
That's nice. So a lot of short form video content is also going, viral on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and everywhere. And brands are actually jumping on different trends. And now we have reels. So do you think that short form video content has made video making much more easier for brands? And should they focus on only short form video content?
So I think short form video has made video in general a lot easier. Kind of like what I said before, you used to need a videographer, you used to need a studio and a big budget, and it's just not like that anymore. So yes, it's made it a lot easier. It's made it so anyone can create a video. Anyone truly can. You just need your phone. But should everyone be doing short form? I think short form definitely reaches in between those moments of longer content. I always teach people to start with the long form and then do the short form later, because if you're new at video, if you're only focused on short form, you're going to be in this constant cycle of restarting from scratch. So you're going to say, well, where's my next video idea? Okay, which one do I do next? And that's a really exhausting place to be in. Whereas let's say you do a monthly webinar or a monthly recording of just your expertise, and then you split that up into clips, you can schedule those out. And I think that makes it a lot easier to keep on top of content, to only have to record one time per month or whatever cadence you decide. It's a lot less exhausting. And, you got to figure out what cycle works for you. But I would say also do long form.
That's great. So a lot of brands, especially those startups, they don't have a proper production studio or house, to film their content. So how can they actually film their content? What type of video content should they go to?
Yeah, I think you could just do a simple Zoom chat where you're having two people talking, maybe two experts are talking. You can even isolate it just to one person's screen so that it just looks like that one person is speaking directly to the camera. That makes it easier for them to record because they're not sitting in a room by themselves and feeling super awkward, but it still shows your authority. That's the beauty of a talking head video, is it shows your authority, but it's also building trust. It's talking about maybe a hot topic at the moment, or maybe could even be something as simple as the history of the brand or a story. You could film for 30 minutes and get 8 to 10 clips, maybe even more, depending on what you're talking about. So I think that's a really easy, I would say low tech way, because it's just using the tools we already have, like Zoom, recording that. You would have to edit it somehow, but there are tools that will record video and have a built-in editor. So there's always ways to do that. Super simple.
That's great. So one of your favorite topics, like how can you actually make sure that a person, especially if they have a brand, are not camera shy on video, because it's not easy for everyone to make videos. So how do you do that? How do you cater to that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because most people are camera shy. It's almost like, how people say the biggest fear people have is public speaking. I think it's almost a smaller version of that. You're not public speaking, but you do kind of feel, especially if you're recording by yourself, you start to sweat. You're feeling really nervous. You're like, what do I say? All of a sudden, I have no idea what I'm talking about when you're sitting by yourself and recording alone. So, camera shy, I think first it's mindset. Know that you're already on camera. You're usually going on Zoom chats. You're usually meeting people in this virtual world that we're in. We're not always meeting in person anymore. So you probably already are on video. And I urge a lot of people to search through their phone or their laptop, their email, you might already have footage available. Let's say you were in a training class, or some people are going back to school and they got filmed for some project they had to do. You may already have some video footage available, and you can post that just to sort of get the nerves out and say, "Oh, I posted a video." And then it feels like you did it. And then that second time is a little bit less stressful because it's like, "Well, I've already posted a video." But as far as being camera shy and that freeze moment where you don't really know what to say, I think filming with somebody else is gonna be the easiest way to do it. Getting on a chat like this is really nice.
It's a great technique. So how do brands actually balance promotional video content and then, the organic, authentic video content? How do brands do that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could split, but I think there's also something, let's say it's a personal brand, like a one-person company. I think it's really easy for you to have a value-packed video. I mean, we're talking 30 to 60 seconds. You're just talking about a subject, opening the eyes of the people that you're talking to. And then at the end, it's just a simple call to action. A lot of people don't know what you offer unless you say what it is. So you may say, "Oh, I have a workshop coming. By the way, you want to learn more, I have a workshop coming up on blah, 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 blah." Or, by the way, I go over this in my program, or whatever, just a simple line, not going over the top and that sort of thing. I think people are very aware of when it's promotional and it's leading with promotional. And so I think if you do the promotional on the back end and you lead with the value, that's always a great strategy.
That's nice. That's nice. So, a lot of people they give us different type of hooks that you can actually use into video content. Like we have hooks for different captions and all that. So there's a lot of hooks that are for video content as well, and they're actually going very viral on Instagram as well. So, do you also believe on those hooks as well?
Yeah, I think so, because people are in a scrolling mentality. I think especially on a site like Instagram or an app like Instagram. I think, again, it does depend on the platform, but you could say the same thing for LinkedIn. They're just not scrolling. It's not really in a scrolling manner. They're more tied to you. "Oh, Sarah posted a video. Let me go watch." That's the type of mentality that we have on LinkedIn. Or, "Oh, I'll watch this later. Let me hit the save button." That's a little bit different than Instagram. But yes, we are in an attention deficit type of world where a hook does sort of let us get that teaser of what the rest of the video may be like. We're sort of teasing what the point is without giving it all away. And I think when you think of hooks like that, it makes it a lot easier to write them. You're not trying to be gimmicky or salesy. You're just trying to tease what the video is about without giving it away, so that someone stops their scroll and someone says, "You know what? Maybe I am gonna watch this. This is intriguing."
That's great. So, just like we talked about hooks, what do you think about CTAs as well? Because a lot of people they get confused how they should end their video and where should they include the CPA. So, what are your views on that as well?
Yeah, I think it could be at the end, it could be at the middle. I think, just as long as it's naturally placed and it doesn't feel like, "Oh, I went all the way over here and now I'm selling you something," or mentioning all, these products that I have or services that I have. I think also it's tough for people to limit it to just one. I think it's tough for people to figure out what's the action that I do want people to take. And you might experiment with that for months, or maybe you have seasons where you focus on one particular call to action and then you switch it up. I don't think it's 100% needed. Same with the hooks. It's not a mandatory thing. It's it's something that you can add on top of what you're already saying. So you don't have to do it, but it does add a little bit. You kind of do have to tell people what to do after a video, or else they will take no action. So if you want them to take action, say what that is.
Yeah, that's true. So a lot of brands are now jumping onto meme and humorous content, on Instagram, on TikTok, especially as well. So do you think this is the only form of video content that brands should be jumping on? And is educational content actually becoming less and less important when it comes to video, especially?
I think that memes and humor are great, but a lot of times it's hard to tell what the account stands for, or who the account is, or who the brand is. Some have made a name for themselves with memes and humor, and so you come to expect that. There's a brand that I follow on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I know the people that work there. I've been on their podcast before, and they're great, and they do a lot of memes. and that works for them because it's very relevant to their content. But they have also they started out with just doing memes. Now they've expanded to doing fun videos with whenever the employees get together. Let's say they have an offsite meeting or people fly in for a meeting, they'll film videos together as the employees. So those are also with a humorous twist, but it's showing the actual people that work there. And I think that's a nice transition from the memes into humorous, but with humans. So I think there's so many ways. It's very easy to get overwhelmed with what do I do? And if I'm a meme, if I do memes, am I officially a meme account? And that's all we post. So I would still blend it. I think you can absolutely experiment with memes, but be careful that people know what your brand stands for and that they're seeing a human behind the brand as well. I'm a big believer in seeing the person behind the brand.
I agree with that. So just like you said, that people behind the brand are very important. So right now we're talking about a lot of EDC content on LinkedIn or Instagram, like showing the employees outside. So do you think that video content actually plays a very important role in showing the world, the people who are behind the brand?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting because before I was helping people with video for their businesses, I was helping training departments with their videos and other content as well. So, for example, let's say you have new employees starting the job. Well, wouldn't it be cool if you could send them some videos, whether it's before they start or on day one or just throughout their, new hire journey, show a tour of the area that they're going to work in, or show them how to enter the building and where to go sign in for the day, or something really simple like that. And that video could be reused for any new hire. It doesn't have to be custom to that person. But I always thought that that was a cool way to do employee generated content, low lift, high impact, because you're forgetting, I think in an employee space, especially when it's within the company, you forget that you know everything about the company and someone coming in brand new doesn't. And even if someone's not brand new, there's probably something they don't know. So employee generated content for the sake of other employees consuming those videos, I think that is a huge win that a lot of people are not doing. So that is a very good strategy that is not being used as much. Employee generated content for the public. So let's say for the public brand page, the Instagram, the TikTok, that's great because it humanizes the brand. I think we're so used to brands being these traditional, archaic, kind of older things. And you see all these newer brands pop up, and it's like, I want to work with this brand or I want to buy from this brand because I feel like I know the people working there. It's just that sort of humanized, I feel like I know them feeling. That's a great thing to have.
That's true. That's right. So can you share any strategies that we should be using or brands should be using to repurpose their video content? Like, should they go in the form of blogs or other type of way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I mentioned before, starting with long form doesn't have to be a long form video, anything long form. So articles, blogs, more like YouTube style videos where they're 10 minutes plus, webinar, workshop, anything that is longer. I think that should be the first stop, and then creating smaller bits of content from there. So something I started doing this year was I started doing workshops and webinars. I only have done a couple of them, but I plan to do many next year. And I take that and I actually created 8 weeks of content after the workshop. So after the workshop was over, I had video clips, I had emails to my subscribers, I had LinkedIn posts, I had written posts, text posts, image posts, all the posts, all coming from the topics that I went over in that workshop. So you can absolutely, I think the workshop was 55 minutes, so almost an hour. That created 8 weeks of content after, because people are not going to, first of all, people miss the workshop. They're going to miss your long form video. They're going to miss the article that you write. Anything in the long form, anything even in the short form, not everybody's going to see. So you absolutely have to repeat the topics that you write about and film about. So why not repurpose into many, many weeks of content? I think that's a wonderful thing. That is such a time saver. And it also allows for you to talk about and bring up the same point multiple times, showing how important it is, but you're not being repetitive. You're kind of coming at it from a different angle each time.
That's a brilliant strategy. So You think that video content has to be same on all the different platforms, or there should be different videos or different video types for different platforms as well? So for example, on LinkedIn, do you think that people can only post about podcast reels, and then on Instagram they can go to more towards memes and humor, or we can actually post the same type of video content on platforms?
Yeah, I think you can post the same. I mean, there's no rules, truly. There's no rules, but knowing what the platforms, what is going to perform better on the platforms, because people are truly worried about performance right now. I think all the algorithms have changed so much, especially this year. And people are seeing what I call the squeeze, where you're creating better and better content, but it's getting less and less reach. So you feel like you're working harder and harder, and nothing's really coming through the way it did a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So, yeah, you can for ease, especially if you're a one person brand, cross posting the same exact video to different platforms is going to be a much easier strategy than creating new content. I think that's very difficult for one person to do. If you have a virtual assistant or you have a team or a bigger brand, you can definitely do that tailored strategy where you have different videos on LinkedIn versus Instagram. Maybe all your talking heads go on LinkedIn and you don't put the talking heads on Instagram. You put more of the memes and the B-roll where it's just, image or video clips of people working, and you've got the, voiceover over the top that's nice and soothing or something. There's a going through and seeing what other people are doing on these platforms and what is sort of seeming to succeed is a good strategy. But I think if you're a small brand, it's going to be really hard to customize to every single site. That's a lot of work. It's already a lot of work to be present on all platforms. So imagine creating custom videos for each one. It's a lot. So yes, you can cross post, you can use the same content at least at first. I'd rather you show up on video than not at all.
That's true. That's right. So how do you actually cope up with video burnout? Because not only people, but brands also face the same thing. They don't want to produce so much amount of bulk content. So how do you deal with that burnout?
Yeah, that's a really big topic because it is very easy to burn out, not just from video. Video is a big one, but from content in general and spinning our wheels. Like I just mentioned, the squeeze that's happening where people feel like they have to work harder to get noticed because it does feel like the algorithms are not really rewarding the great content that we're putting out. So it feels like, okay, I'll just work harder. I'll just come up with better content. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think consistency and just staying in your lane is the best way to go about it. So keeping your core topics. Okay, I know I talk about these, 5 things, let's say. I'm going to each month do a recording, and I'm going to, like we said, take that recording, create content out of it. Doesn't even have to be video. Truly, it could be that one big video, and then you're creating you're taking the transcript and you're making different text posts from that. You're posting on a regular basis. You can even have themes for your week where each week you have, let's say, a long form article and smaller posts that kind of feed into that article. Or I do something with my email newsletter where on Saturdays the email newsletter comes out, but there's posts previous or prior to that in the week that kind of tease what that bigger, longer email is going to be. So it's like one little piece of that. I think instead of creating, most people do this, they create something brand new on Monday, brand new on Tuesday, brand new on Wednesday. Instead of doing that, repeat your posts, recycle your posts, and have them as broken out pieces of a bigger element that you come out with later, whether that's an article, a bigger video, a YouTube, that long form that we've been talking about.
That's great. That's like very good insights as well. So, what are your tips for those people who are actually starting off their brands and now they want to go towards video content? What is the most easiest way to actually start off with video content?
I think the easiest way to start is to look in your files and see if you already have video footage, because you might already have that. And I think by you simply posting that, even if you say in your, I'm thinking of LinkedIn right now because we're very honest and transparent on LinkedIn. So we'll say things like, hey, I just found this video footage. Yay, I officially posted a video, and people will cheer you on just because you did that. I had someone that they attended one of my workshops, and she was in She was going back to school and she said, oh my gosh, they actually filmed us for this project that we did. So I do have video footage. She was thinking she didn't have any, but that was a nice surprise. So I think people don't realize they may actually have video clips of them. If you don't have that, let's say you search through your files and you don't have anything, you could always film yourself working at your laptop, no talking. It could even be a time lapse so that you're not really focused on what you look like. It could be something so simple and then maybe put some text over the top. I think ripping the Band-Aid off and just saying, yes, I posted a video, it kind of relaxes you a little bit because you've already gone through the tech side of it, the initial fear of it, the anticipation of it, and it wasn't so bad. I think when you see, wow, the world kept turning, everything was okay. I think that's a great lead in. So if you do a really low effort first video, that is a great way to, just get past that initial fear.
That's great. So just continuing your answer, a lot of people, they actually focus a lot on editing the video content and they want the first video to actually be very perfect. So what do you have to say about that?
I would say don't worry about editing at all. I would say you could post a completely raw video. It's your first one. You really can't expect perfection. I see that a lot. I see a lot of people asking, what are the best apps to edit with? I don't know, because I don't think I use the best apps. I just use what's available to me. That I'm not, I don't, I do pay for a couple of apps, but those are more for my recording sessions that I do with clients. But I use Instagram edits for a lot of my short form videos because it's just easy and I'm familiar with it. That's a free app. I already use Instagram. It's there. It's available to me. And it, is easy-ish to use. So once you get the user interface down, it's fairly easy. So yeah, I think a lot of people are worried about the wrong things. They're worried about editing, they're worried about equipment, and you don't need either of those to get started. They're not necessities. They're really not.
That's true. So a lot of people are also saying that now there's SEO in video content as well. So, the type of content that you're writing, that also affects, if you're going to be ranking on the algorithm as well. So do you have any tips for that as well?
For writing SEO,
For video content, yes.
yeah. So yes, I think keywords are always important. And I think that's great. I think they're more important on certain sites though, like YouTube obviously would be a big one. You want to be noticed. And YouTube is a search engine, truly. I think TikTok is a great search engine too. So if you're on TikTok, obviously the right words are going to matter. Keywords are going to matter. Less important on LinkedIn. I think there's something that people have been talking about a lot lately where it's the social graph versus the interest graph, whereas LinkedIn is still that social graph, meaning I'm following you, so I see your content. I'm not following a topic. If I go to Instagram or TikTok, I'm following a topic. So I might see a dog video where it's a cute dog and I like it. Now all of a sudden that's all I'm seeing in my feed, but I'm not seeing my friends anymore. So I think that's where on those platforms where interest is the key, that's where the keywords are going to be the most important for your video to be seen by the right people because it is truly tied to the words you're saying and the topics that you're talking about. Whereas if you're on LinkedIn, not as important. People are hopefully going to see your content if they follow you. Now we know that's not the case always, but they follow you. And so hopefully they would see your content.
That's great. That's great. So this brings us at the end of the podcast, Sarah. And at the end, I would just like you to give any advice to all of those brands, especially that are now starting off with video content.
Yeah, I think people are craving authentic human videos, not polished, not cinematic. I think people are very lacking in trust these days of the overly done, overly produced videos. I think that has its place. But if you're a brand, especially if you're a one person personal brand and you're trying to show your personality or the person behind the face behind the brand, the best thing you can do is just be yourself, be human, show up, talk, and not worry about all those extra added polished elements. They're not as important as people think they might be. And I think this might help people too. If you see a video that you think is super polished because you think the person is speaking so well on camera and they look so great, just know that they might have edited out their ums and their sort of dead air as they're doing it. There might be little tweaks that you will be so impressed by how good of a video you can create, even if you didn't feel like it was that great while you were recording. I'm always impressed by what the final video looks like. And I don't do a whole lot of editing. So just know authentic human experiences
That's,
and connections are way more important.
that's a
Yes.
very great advice. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. It was wonderful having you. Hope you enjoyed
Yeah.
it.